What if I told you that humanity may have lost centuries, perhaps even millennia, of scientific progress in a single chapter of history, not because of incapacity, not because of a lack of intelligence, but because knowledge simply vanished? At one point in antiquity, nearly all the known knowledge of the world was gathered in a single place: mathematics, astronomy, medicine, philosophy, engineering. And then that place fell. The Library of Alexandria was not merely a building. It was the greatest intellectual experiment ever undertaken up to that time. And its destruction remains one of the greatest mysteries in history. To understand what truly happened, we must return to the 3rd century BCE, after the death of Alexander the Great. His empire was divided among his generals. Egypt fell under the control of Ptolemy Isoter, who transformed Alexandria into one of the most ambitious cultural centers of the ancient world. Some historians believe the library was part of something even larger, the Mouseion, a state-funded research institution. There, scholars are provided housing, salaries, and the structure necessary to produce knowledge. The evidence suggests the goal was bold: to collect all the books of the known world. Ships docking at the harbor were inspected. Manuscripts were copied. In certain accounts, the originals remained in the library, while copies were returned to their owners. It is estimated that the collection may have reached hundreds of thousands of papyrus scrolls. Among the figures associated with Alexandria were scholars such as Euclid, whose work shaped geometry for over 2,000 years, and Eratosthenes, who calculated the circumference of the earth with astonishing precision using only shadows and mathematics. There are also records of Aristarchus of Samos, who proposed a heliocentric model centuries before it became widely accepted. Alexandria was not merely a repository of books. It was a center where ideas were tested, debated, and refined. So how does something so monumental simply disappear? The most widely known version involves Julius Caesar. In 48 BCE, during a conflict in Alexandria, a fire that began in the harbor is believed to have spread and affected part of the city. Some historians believe this episode caused significant damage to the library, but not everyone agrees that this was the end. There are hypotheses suggesting that the institution continued to exist, perhaps in reduced form, for decades or even centuries. Later sources still mention intellectual activity in the city. Another possibility involves religious conflicts in the 4th century. With the rise of Christianity and the decline of pagan traditions, temples and institutions associated with Hellenistic culture became targets of destruction. The Serapeum, which may have housed a subsidiary library, was destroyed during this period, but the evidence is fragmented. Some scholars argue that there was no single catastrophic event. Instead, the destruction may have been gradual. Funding cuts, political changes, successive wars, and simple neglect may have weakened the project until it disappeared entirely. The truth is that there is no definitive record describing the exact moment of its fall, and that leads us to an even more unsettling point. We do not know exactly what was lost. We do not have a complete catalog. We do not know how many works were unique. We do not know which theories were abandoned forever. Some historians believe the idea of an incalculable loss may have been amplified over the centuries, transforming Alexandria into a symbol of all knowledge destroyed by intolerance and war. But not everyone agrees. For many researchers, although the immediate scientific impact may not have been as dramatic as popular imagination suggests, the symbolic value is immense. The Library of Alexandria represents something greater than its scrolls. It represents humanity's ambition to understand the world, and also the fragility of that ambition, because civilizations believe their records are permanent, that their systems are stable, that their collective memory is secure until it isn't. Today, we store virtually all human knowledge in digital servers scattered across the planet, clouds, data centers, interconnected systems. But the story of Alexandria reminds us that knowledge does not disappear only through fire. It can vanish through neglect, through conflict, through political decisions, or simply because it is not considered important enough to preserve. Perhaps the true mystery of the Library of Alexandria is not only how it was destroyed, but how many other Alexandrias have existed throughout history and vanished without us even knowing they were there. And if you could recover just one lost book from that library, which field of knowledge would you choose? And are we truly doing enough to ensure that our own legacy does not meet the same fate?